country in the world. What's his name? Shh, Secret Squirrel. He's got tricks.
Oh, who doesn't love Secret Squirrel? My goodness. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to The Spy Who Loves Liberty. I am, or IRB, your host, using proper ebonics for the day. IRB, your host, Junk E. Bond. And here with in the studio, we have the one and only Booger in the hinterlands of nowhere. We're not going to tell you where he's at today, even
Good
though you can
morning.
probably figure out he's out there somewhere. Booger, how you doing?
I am doing great, Greg, and sounds like you're doing great as well.
I am. I am fully recovered from the pneumonia bronchitis combo platter that I was suffering from. And actually, I sat down last night and I had a bottle of wine, King Cole, Koal, King Cole. And I had a T52 cigar. The King Cole is an amazingly, what's the word I'm looking for? Vivid Cabernet Sauvignon from Washington, grown in ground that's not supposed to be able to grow any grapes. And I tell you what, it's a rugged, tough, earthy. Oh my goodness, set me straight. So I'm feeling about, I don't know, about 1.2 million today.
Hey, Greg, since we're
Yes, sir.
talking libations and cigars for a moment,
Sure.
a friend of mine at work gave me a cigar from the Finger Lakes region up here in New York, and I will have to
Very
let
nice.
you know how it is. It is a bourbon-infused cigar. They smoked it in bourbon, so I'll find out how it is. I'll tell you if it's any good, and maybe I'll try to get up there and get some if it's a nice cigar.
That, you know what? That sounds great. That sounds really good. What do you know? What brand or what type it is?
I will let you know. I have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll look at it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be kind of interesting. There's a little cigar shop in Corning on, I want to say
Market Street.
Market Street.
It's on Market Street.
Yeah, Browns.
Browns.
Yeah. Boy, talk about a small world. So
Well, I worked in
place is-
Corning. I was a paramedic and a firefighter up there by Corning for years.
yeah,
I
but
know
you don't
Corning
get too
very
many-
well.
You don't get too many calls to the cigar shop.
No. Nope. But there is a lot of
Nice.
smoke.
Right, yeah, a lot of smoke but no fire.
Okay.
So
Sorry,
yeah, so that's
sorry
a
to
great little
interrupt your
place.
show.
No, that's okay because that place has been around since before the turn of the previous century. They're actually, I think they're about 125, 130 years old in that store. I mean, that store's
They
been
very
around a
well
long
may be.
time.
It's been
Yeah,
there
yeah.
for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah, great. So great place. If you happen to be in Corning, New York, folks, I would tell you definitely you call it a shout out or whatever you want. But oh boy, Brown's got a great collection of cigars up there. Great little old style. I guess it's an old world feeling, as a matter of fact. And they have a lot of Padron cigars. I remember that from the last time I was there. Okay, back onto track or so. Let's see, Jeff, you're going to have to do the Suzanne thing because I don't know where the heck we're at either today. So we're on radio.co, right?
Yeah, well, Suzanne is still in the Facebook gulag. She
Good.
has some errands to run today, so she is not going to join us.
Right.
But we are here, and if you want to listen to us, you can listen to us live on YouTube. We are broadcasting there. If you want to join the live chat there, ask questions, we'll answer them there. Let's see, we're on radio.co, and if you go to our Facebook page, you can find the links there. It's pinned to the top. The very first post you come to has all the links in it, and it's pinned there. It never leaves the top of that page. So if you can't find a link in one of the things that I posted, because I posted a bunch of them this morning, it's right there on the top of the page. And we're on SoundCloud. You can find every episode that we've put up on SoundCloud. There's well over 100, and there's over 300 shows on YouTube. If you can't find a show to listen to, you're not trying very hard. So there you go. Back to you, Greg.
Very good, sir. Thank you. That's pretty doggone awesome. I'm going to make a list from now on, I think, and that way I can just run down the list of all the places that we're at, because we're like all over the place, which is not a bad gig, I have to admit. I like being all over the place, not scatterbrained, but just being everywhere at once, kind of like a boson. So that was a physics joke, Jeff. No.
Well, it went right over my head. Didn't have any hair to catch it.
Oh, gosh. Supposed to say didn't have any hadron to catch it, but that's okay. Again, just quantum physics stuff. Not a big deal. You just keep producing. Jeff, the producer, producing away. So today, we figured we would have a short discussion on something that is sometimes overlooked, sometimes discussed, but never at length, never in depth, and usually rather superficially, and we move past it. It makes us uncomfortable. When we think of treating people, medically treating people, we like to make them comfortable. We like to take care of them. And there's a certain amount of, I would say, uh, good things that happen, endorphins that are released to the providers when they treat someone and someone feels better. It's a rush. It makes them feel good too. Which is why I want to look at the topic today of over medicating people. And I wanted to pull this article here. This is from the Department of Cell and Molecular Biology at the School of Life Sciences. It's a joint project between them in the University of Manipal in India. Where was it? I just had it. The Department of Health Department of International Health in Germany, the Department of Health here in the States, and the Public Health Genomics Project at the World Health Organization. And it talks about antibiotic resistance and mitochondrial dysfunction. So let me break this down very quickly before I read from the abstract of this article. Antibiotic resistance is a concept that has come into play in the last 20 or 30 years. As different types of bacteria are exposed to the medications that ultimately kill them in various manners, right? Some cause instability in the cells, others cause toxicity in the cells, others break down the cell membrane. There's many different ways that antibiotics work. The ones that survive, the bacteria that survive, become more resistant. Effectively, the antibiotic will not work against that new strain of bacteria. And we see this all the time. You've heard about the mutations in the flu, why you have to get a flu shot every year, because they give you the shot where certain strains of flu, up to I'll say up to 80% are affected and will die if exposed to the vaccination. But there's that small percentage that are, one, not influenced by it, two, influenced by it, but not affected, meaning it'll still make you sick. But these ones will take in the medication and say, oh, okay, you know what? This is a dangerous thing. So within the cell itself, it will build a resistance to that type of a treatment in the future. And then 3 is the group that is, of course, 100% affected by the flu shot and will uh, it will not live, it will not mutate. You can't get the flu because you had that shot. So flu shots up to 80% effective. A couple of years ago, it was way down, way down. Matter of fact, a lot of strange things happened at the CDC and NIH when people who worked there started to say it's only 30% effective. Now, it was only 30% effective, but because these people said something, as a matter of fact, it's almost like right out of a Clinton's playbook, like a storybook. One esteemed young and up and coming uh, virologist ended up killing himself, or so we're told. The story really didn't get to the top of the papers, um, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? It's just like Vince Foster. We heard all about how Vince Foster had killed himself. He shot himself, right? He shot himself twice and then hung himself. He shot himself. I think it was Booger. Did he shoot himself in the back of the head or in the front of the head before he hung himself?
I heard it was back of the head.
Back of the head, yeah.
Obvious, but I think our good friend Sander. Oh, he's back. He said he was getting coffee. He might know.
I've heard both, but the thing is, I could not track either to an original source.
Okay.
Until you can actually track it to, okay, this is the police report that you can verify. You know what I'm saying? You really don't want to make a definitive statement.
Yeah, no, that's good point. Good point. So, we don't know for sure, but that story came out, and my point with that story is that you heard many different versions until it went away, and then we didn't know anything else about it. So this poor young lad who lived down in Atlanta, quote, committed suicide when he had everything to live for. He was 28 years old. He had a fiance. They had a great life together. I know of this individual personally because I know his mother. So it was a case of something extremely strange happening. Her asking the police, not once, not twice, 3 times, to conduct a thorough investigation. And they said, no, we're not going to do it. We have a suicide note. We're good. And that was it. And all he had done 2 months before was to leak to the press that the flu vaccine was not as effective as everybody believed it was. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a big thing to a lot of folks, but do you have any do my do my Kim Jong Il? You have any idea of how much money is involved in the flu shots? Think of the number of people that get flu shots every year.
I'm going to do my Dr. Evil. Billions. I had my pinky up to my cheek there too. So
there you go.
You see.
I love the way these investigations go too. At the gym we have socialists, we have atheists, Christians, everybody there. So we get in these discussions, and I was told, well, Vince Foster, come on, they found a suicide note and he was depressed. I said, okay, is there a law of physics that says only the person committing suicide can write a note about the suicide? Is there an actual law of physics there? And also, are depressed people impossible to kill? Vince Foster may have very well been depressed because he knew Hillary was probably going to try to kill him shortly. Depressed people can be murdered. But that's the way it goes. Case is closed. We found a suicide note, and somebody said he was depressed. So, the blood running uphill in the clothes, all this other stuff. No, it's obvious it was suicide.
Right. Yeah. The laws of physics cease to function in Vince Foster's apartment. There were so many things that were incongruent with physical law. It blows the mind.
People don't hide suicide notes either. I mean, you don't write a suicide note and hide it. What was it? It was, I'm going to kill
So
myself. I'm
I
going
was
to
just thinking about how to say that, Booger. So that was
I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to go the extent of writing a note why, but I'm going to hide it in my briefcase where it's going to take multiple searches to find it.
and
Come on.
then we could do a Where's Waldo on the on the suicide note.
Oh yeah, how people shut down rational thought whenever it comes from one of the talking heads on mainstream media. I find it scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. It just shows. It just shows that sheeple are willing to follow and willing to let something go. If it doesn't immediately impact their everyday to day life, they're going to let it go. They're not going to address it any further because, oh, it's a problem. You don't understand how much of an issue. Yeah. Any idea of how much a problem it is for us to come on the radio every morning and talk to folks and remind you, and for us to be active in our own home lives in our community and do all these other things and then live the lives that we do? I'm sure a lot of folks out there do the same thing, but just think about the number of people that don't do that. And those are the folks that we want to motivate. We want to get to them. We want to reach them and help them understand that you just can't let it go. Be involved. Go to the community meeting. Go to, run for office, for God's sakes. Take over the office. You're going to lead a secession? Go lead the best secession you can. You're gonna move your town out of the big corporate town and make a little hamlet or something? Do it. Make it happen.
Yeah, I compare, the people wanting to stick their heads in the sand on it to, because I've heard this, hey, the way you beat them is just enjoying life. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. That's like saying I'm on the Titanic, it's hit the iceberg. The way I'm going to survive is going back to the lobster buffet. It's not going to work. And you need to realize, okay, the ship hit an iceberg. There's not enough life rafts or lifeboats. So imagine if people would have accepted that right off the bat, went down, started ripping doors off of cabins and making rafts with beer kegs, wine bottles emptied and tied up in blankets and putting the doors on top of them. Imagine how many lives would have been saved if people would have said, whoa, let's face the music, let's look at reality, but let's not give up. Okay.
Right. Going down to the lobster buffet only gets you so much time, and then you're out of time.
Yes, the ship's still sinking. However much you refuse to, like a buddy of mine said, "Oh, I don't really have the time to read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island." And I'm like, well, the Creature from Jekyll Island does exist, and he's going to continue to exist. Whether and it's eventually going to have a huge negative impact on you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Remember our good friend Mike Church always called it rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
That's right.
Oh, let's get the Republicans in. Let's rearrange the deck chairs. Oh no, we need the Democrats in. Let's rearrange the deck chairs.
We could probably use like some flowers over there and maybe an umbrella over there. And oh my God.
So anyway, that's pretty much the Titanic just brought that up to my mind. All right, sorry. Back to your show.
That's okay. That's pretty cool, actually, when you think about it, because it's part of bystander behavior, right? It's the same concept when you see a car get into an accident on the side of the road. It's the concept, the mindset of the crowd. When there's a lot of people there, nobody does anything. Everybody just continues to drive by, right? Hardly anyone stops. But if there's nobody driving by and you are the only one and they look distressed, the prevalent thought is that you're going to stop. And in 9 times out of 10, people will stop. People will help. But as soon as you bring the crowd perspective into something, somebody once said, never underestimate the collective stupidity of people in a crowd. And people become those sheep in a crowd. Their normally radical behavior, normal survival instincts become passive. And people more and more will sit back and let somebody else take charge. Let somebody else do it for them. Let somebody else offer to help. They lose the initiative to be that person for some reason, of which I can't understand why. I would think that people granted so many freedoms and liberties and the opportunity to freely express themselves would enjoy and guard those things very carefully. But for some reason, we seem to become extremely passive. And much like in the car accident scenario, we withdraw. We withdraw into our shell and we don't reemerge. It's a very disturbing thought for me. I'm not very, and I'm not very confident that people will be able to change that because it seems like it's human nature. As I studied and have researched the wisdom of a crowd per se, I found that in almost all cultures, it transcends culture, which means it's just an innate human behavior. Is that people in all cultures tend to do the same thing? They all tend to withdraw in the time that action is needed. People withdraw. And we've seen it through history where only one person will stand up, right? One person will lead the charge. And interestingly enough, that's all it takes in many cases. It's just that one person to lead the charge. But we're not seeing that here in the States for change. You're seeing small little groups where you have one person in small groups. For example, the marijuana issue, right? I call it an issue because the federal government really shouldn't have anything to say about it, but they've made all these laws and they kind of took control of it. Here, the states are taking back control, and I mean, one state at a time is legalizing marijuana for one use or another, right? So, is that like, nullification and interposition? Jefferson's great concept coming to life 200 and something years after after Leviathan got too big? I don't know. And now we see the same thing happening with abortions, right? There's a huge fight that has been uh, initiated, and each state is going back to their original pre Roe versus Wade stance on abortion being legal or illegal in that state, depending upon the actual the what the voters want, right? What the people, what the citizens of that country want. It's being torn away from Leviathan. Now, I don't know if this is Donald Trump's idea of draining the swamp or not, but it's definitely starting to tear apart at the corners of the swamp, which is never a bad thing, unless it gets halted by somebody else and then, built right back up again and we'll have to start all over again. But those are the types of things that people have to stand up for. You have to be involved. You have to be able to be that agent of change. Don't wait for somebody else to change things for you. You be that person to make the change happen. So my crusade in these days of I don't know what you'd call them, days of turbulence and insanity, is in the medical field. So back to the point of the show today, halfway through it, we're talking about antibiotic resistance and mitochondrial dysfunction based on medication overuse. Now, what is mitochondrial dysfunction? If you ever went and saw ABC television Saturday mornings, you would have seen Schoolhouse Rock. And you would have learned that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria is the energy maker, and it's the thing that makes everything happen or everything possible in the cell. All right. Jeff, are you old enough to remember Schoolhouse Rock?
Yes, I do. I
Oh, you do?
remember the Bill sitting on the Capitol steps singing.
I'm just a Bill, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
only
remember all
yeah.
those. Yeah.
Booger remembers Conjunction Junction. What's your dysfunction?
Remember all of that.
See, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. That stuff actually taught you what the hell was supposed to happen. But I digress. So let's talk about mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondria is supposed to behave in a specified manner per cell. It's not supposed to have various functions. It's not supposed to function highly. It's not supposed to function slowly. It's not supposed to do anything other than function at a constant rate per the type of cell that it's in. Well, now we're seeing mitochondria going through spastic sessions and going through mitochondrial depression almost. It slows down in some cases to the point of clinical lethargy or just basic non movement. So, to the abstract I go. Antibiotics are the first line of treatment against infections and have contributed immensely to reduce the morbidity and mortality, or the sickness and the death rates. Recently, extensive use of antibiotics has led to alterations in the gut microbe, predisposition to various diseases, and most importantly, increase in the emergence of antibiotic resistant bacteria, which poses a major threat to global public health. So it's altering the microbes, stomach microbes. You've heard people talk about this before. Stomach, intestinal microbes, things that are important for digestion, predisposition to various diseases. Some people are at a higher odds ratio of having one disease or another, right? Black people are higher ratio of getting sickle cell anemia. White people are higher at getting coronary artery disease. It just happens that way. Asian people as a whole, not picking out any specific group, do not have the enzymes to synthesize alcohol in their body. So they get very, very drunk very, very quickly. And, look at one glass of beer or wine and their soup. These are all predispositions in one way or another. And these are being altered now because of this overuse of antibiotics. Back to the abstract of the article, another major issue faced worldwide due to unregulated use of antibiotics in children, as well as in adults, is the influence of metabolism and body weight homeostasis. Homeostasis means the balance. So, metabolism and body weight should be balanced to maintain a not very, very heavy, not very, very thin, or something within the norm of a person. Leading to obesity. This can lead to obesity. Apart from the involvement in the biosocial causes influencing diet, physical activity, and antibiotic use, pathogenesis of obesity, or where did it come from, is linked to interconnected functional alterations in cells, tissues, and organs due to biochemical, epigenetic, and genetic factors. What that's talking about very simply and very straightforward, is that activity within cells, between cells, and how they relate to the body overall are being changed biochemically in a way that we've never seen before. Mitochondrial dysfunction is one such factor, which is becoming the primary focus of various aspects of research on multifactorial complex diseases and is providing new perspectives on etiology, biomarker-based diagnosis, and drug sensitivity. So that's as far as I'm going to read into this thing, because it uses a lot of big words that I can't pronounce. I'm not going to go there. It does bring up the fact, and it does show there is empirical evidence. What that means is it is quantified by data collection and research that is done independently and is considered valid throughout the research arena. So they validated that there is a rise in obesity, which we all could see, but the causation of that rise of obesity is linked to the overuse of antibacterial medication. The antibacterial medication not only changes how a bacteria can affect your body, if it can affect your body, it also, excuse me, going through puberty, it also affects your body itself. And it is in the mitochondria in each of the cells in your body that are affected. Why? Because it has slowed down the functionality of mitochondria and reduced the efficiency at which it processes, therefore creating a buildup in your body. Now, there's numerous other factors, and Booger, you and I have talked about these other factors before. Specifically, my favorite is in when food is processed. This is the amazing thing, and they put preservatives in there. Preservatives, they don't go anywhere, do they?
No, and actually, it is being taught in some of the mortician schools now that if you get someone who's a healthy eater eating out of their garden, all of this other stuff, they have to be embalmed quicker than the couch potato that eats all these preservative-ridden foods. It actually preserves, kind of functions as a preservative on the human body. And if it's preventing bacteria from growing, it has to prevent human cell growth as well. I mean, you're preventing the growth of a cell.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You're stopping everything from happening. Now, this isn't some fly-by-night research, folks. This is published by the World Health Organization, which is a fly-by-day organization. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually published in the Journal of Public Health Genomics, and genomics is the study of how the biofunctioning of cells happen at the atomic and subatomic level. Okay, we used to treat at the supra, or the bigger than cellular level, to see if you could break the cell membrane and the bacteria. Now a lot of these antibiotics and medications that are being made function by specifically manipulating the genome in a bacteria. It is genetic manipulation. And this goes back to the discussion we had about CRISPR-Cas9, the DNA gene editing tool that's available. Well, doggone it. Stuff like this you might say, is right out of science fiction, but it's happening right now. You know that scene in Spaceballs where they're looking at the video and they fast forward? It says, prepare to stop, prepare, stopping video. What's happening now? It's happening right now. Now is happening now. Right. What happened to then? We just missed it. When? Now. Go back to then. We can't. Why not? We just missed it. It's happening now, folks. Our world, unbeknownst to us, is being taken, twisted, and manipulated in a manner. In 5 years, we are not going to know who a human is on the street and a bio robot is walking down the street. That's how fast technology is advancing, for good or bad or indifferent. I tend to say I keep a dystopic picture of the future because I've seen over the years, my 50 something years, I've seen how bad people can be and how they tend to not really like to do things for the public good. They'd rather do things for their own personal interest or personal wealth or personal gain. It's never about any public good. It's always under the auspice of public good. But you'll never see someone implement something for, quote, the public good. Why was the polio vaccine introduced? Because some of the richest families on Wall Street had invested in developing the vaccine. That's why. Some of the biggest families on Wall Street had invested in isolating the genome. Some of the biggest families in Wall Street paid for the March of Dimes. They started the .org. They started the whole 401c3 or whatever it is for not-profit organizations. They started raking in billions of bucks on that stuff.
No, Greg, also you can get a guy that did a very good series on vaccines, and he really got specifically using interviews. Who was the guy that created the polio virus again? I forget the man's name.
Oh, Salk?
That was his name? Okay. He actually has videos, live video interviews of the guy declaring the polio vaccine was actually a bunch of hype. This is the guy that actually made the vaccine. And he said that polio was already on a decline. The angle of decline did not change at all. And it was mostly due to other factors that polio declined so sharply. So that is very impressive when you actually get the guy that actually developed the polio vaccine, saying his whole vaccine was a bunch of hype, and there were a lot of other factors that were involved in the decline of polio cases.
Yeah. Erwin Popper actually isolated the polio virus in 1909, and I did a show on this on the other radio station on Veritas, and I wrote a paper on this. I think, Jeff, we got to put that paper up because I wrote the paper about the polio virus and FDR and put that up. That was on the New Sons of Liberty website. Lots of people got a copy of that, and I think that was great. I had more references linked to the bottom of that thing than anything else, any of the other papers I wrote for my PhD. That thing was just loaded with stuff. So go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Hey, Greg, I have a question. This curiosity, because I know in my mind what I've been thinking on this.
Cat killer.
So what is that? Is it measles or mumps that everyone's all worked up over right now?
Measles.
Okay, measles. What is there, like 500 or 600 or 700 cases at this point?
Right.
Okay.
That's about right.
Out of 320 million, what is statistically, is that practically a zero, statistical zero, just about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if all the people that are vaccinated against measles are all up in arms about those few that aren't, are they in danger if the measles vaccine is 100% foolproof?
actually, yeah, measles is one of those. So it's the German measles we're talking about specifically, the rubella, not the Rebola cases. Okay, so there's different types of measles. Rebola, I think there's less than 100 new cases. The German measles, rubella cases in 2016, there was one new case. In 2017, there was about a dozen, and then this last year so far, there was a couple hundred that you're talking about, mostly in isolated communities, Amish,
Well, in New
Mennonites,
York State, it's a
and then
Jewish
in New
community.
York City. Yeah, yeah,
They-
and then in New York
They,
City, right,
for religious reasons, do not
right.
want
The yeah,
vaccination.
the Orthodox Jewish community is the latest one to start to have a rise in rubella, Rubella, not Rubeola. Mumps is a lot lower on the spectrum. Several thousand cases of mumps every year, not a big deal. Now, the morbidity and mortality, or morbidity, the sickness rate, mortality, death rate from measles is probably near zero or zero, right? Statistically at a zero, because everybody else is vaccinated. Measles, German measles, is a case where there is very, very high mutation rates. The measles can double every 30 minutes. Number of cells can double every 30 minutes in your body. So you're basically fighting against time. And every time they mutate is every time they reproduce. So you're stuck with something that is mutating faster than you can create a vaccine, or faster than you can create a treatment that will affect it. And that's the problem with the German measles, is how fast it mutates from one known strain into an unknown strain. Unlike something like the bird flu or the swine flu, they take a long time to mutate, every year or so, right? Which is why you get a new shot every year. It takes them about 8 months to mutate, 6 to 8 months to mutate. Here, not so much. Here, it's so fast that you wouldn't know what the hell hit you. So the kids that are being exposed to the German measles, once a kid's contracted them, have a good potential or a good possibility of actually contracting a mutated version of the German measles, regardless of vaccination status. Does that answer your
Well, I
question?
did not know that. Yes, I did
Okay.
not know that.
And that's the problem with vaccinations, is some work extremely well and some don't work nearly as well, and they're more hype, i.e. polio. Polio wasn't killing millions and millions of people, right? We never saw that. We found that it's Guillain-Barré disease that FDR had. He didn't have polio. Polio,
I got that.
yeah, polio is
Go ahead.
hemiplegic. It only attacks one side of the body or the other, just like shingles. If you see somebody with shingles, it only one side or the other because it's neurologically based. Polio, Guillain-Barré, is a different type of a disease, and it attacks both sides equally, which is why FDR couldn't walk. Neither leg worked. Just look at the basic stuff here. So again, and it became, it became a propaganda thing because the president has polio. Okay, the president has polio. Well, what better poster child for polio for the rich Wall Street families to make some big bucks than to have the president, right? Anyway, back to vaccinations and overuse of medication. We can see now that there is sufficient evidence. Now, this article was written in 2017, and I used this one first because it is the baseline document and the predecessor of about a dozen other studies that have shown that the overuse of antibiotics has caused mitochondrial expression issues or mitochondrial dysfunction.
You know,
Another,
oh, go ahead,
go ahead.
Greg. Okay, one thing to bring up on that too is with this industrialized farming, that's what I call it. Okay, even if you think, okay, I'm not going to give my children any antibiotics. If you just buy the cheapest food, cheapest chicken, cheapest beef, everything out of the store,
Mhm.
that animal's almost its entire life, it is being injected with what? Hormones and antibiotics. Okay, everything. And here's another thing now I've tracked this just a little, you've likely tracked it more. They have found out that the negative chemicals created by someone who's under heavy stress, the animals in this industrialized farming are raised shoulder to shoulder, fighting over food in their own dung. Okay. Those, you are getting the same negative stress chemicals in your body as if you were raised shoulder to shoulder with other human beings fighting over food in your own dung. So you look
Yeah,
at
with
that.
nowhere to turn, nowhere to go. You can't
No
even turn around.
Yeah, no sunlight. Now imagine your stress level if you were being raised in that environment. The negative chemicals by being in such a high stress, hopeless environment would cause depression off the charts. Now, let's look at these animals. Their bodies are producing very similar chemicals. They're getting jacked up with all of these vaccinations and hormones. So even if you think, oh, I'm personally not going to put them in my body from a pharmacy or from a doctor, in a way you still are if you are not very careful in the foods you select.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's
I,
another thing I've just been looking at a little bit on it, and especially the anxiety that is off the charts in the States now. I think part of that is people are now working 12-hour days, 5 to 6 days a week in factory jobs, which it's not enjoyable for the human mental state. I mean, it's
Right.
not a.
But think of it this way, Booger. You know, people are engaged, they're working, but the problem is that they become how would you say, snowflakeicized, and now they whine and complain about working. Before, right, guys like you and me, we would work 12, 14, 16, 30 hours straight, whatever, right? That was the job. That's what you did. And you went out and you did it. You didn't moan, complain, whine. You found a way to make it good. You made stuff happen. And now, what do we hear? Oh, I've got a whole 6 hour shift. Oh, my heart's friggin' bleeding for you, pal. You got to stand up for 6 hours. You got to stand up for 8 hours in one place. Oh, in an air conditioned location. Okay, so you got to wear a mask. You got to pluck feathers off a chicken. Oh, like my heart's bleeding. Don't even get into the stuff that guys like you and I or Jeff do. For a shift, a double shift, a triple shift sometimes. In the military, we would do whatever we were told to do for as long as we were told to do it. When the man said jump, you say, for how long? Right? You didn't come down until he said come down.
You are correct on that. You're correct. And I look also. It's not one thing. So many people want to identify just one thing that's wrong. But see, these same people that are the ones that are so depressed and complaining about how horrible their life is and running to the doctor for antidepressants on break, instead of going to their lunchbox where they or their wife made them some very good, wholesome food,
Mm-hmm.
where do they go? The soy burger machines. Okay.
Yep. The crap burger.
Yes. And they never work out. They never do anything that will actually improve the chemical state in their body naturally.
Right.
So it's a whole compounded thing of all these things we're talking about.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
Michael in the chat says, if you don't want antibiotics, then you should avoid municipal water.
Michael makes a very good point. There is, excuse me, there be two things in sticking with the Ebonics theme. There be two things in municipal water that you don't want none of. One is antibiotics because of the genomic aspect of it, the subcellular bad stuff involved with antibiotics. It actually goes through many of the filters and shows up at a high level in municipal water. The second thing you don't want, but what you're going to get is estrogen and progesterone. The synthetically made ones are the only ones you're going to get. And those are byproducts of female urine because everybody's taking the pill. The systems can't filter it out. It's, again, way too small and passes through the filters, and we have higher levels of hormones in municipal water everywhere. So, yeah, good point.
And they're adding fluoride too to many municipal locations.
Fluoride. So, and right, and now we've had that in the water since we were kids in New York, which just goes to show that the communist infiltration has been complete. For people that don't know it, fluorides, I don't know of a better way to say it other than it's a freaking poison. There, I said it. Okay. Fluorine is a poison. It kills you. Let that sink in for a minute. It kills you. Good. I hope it sunk in. Because it's been in your water since the 50s. You know, the joke about Dr. Strangelove, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb. General, can't remember his name, the guy in charge of Strategic Air Command who let all the nukes free. His concern was the fluoride in the water, right? And then, of course, middle age setting in and some other issues. But the fluoride in the water was the thing that was put there by the communists in order to kill us or manipulate us. Well, guess what? That's pretty much how it goes. I wouldn't say it's a fallacy. I'd say there's a lot of truth into having elevated fluorine levels that are retained in the body. It's a poison.
Yeah, isn't Prozac like 80% fluoride?
Yeah, it's very high level. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right, Booger. It really is. And again, why are we talking about it? Because nobody at the CDC will, right? Nobody in the public health will. They'll just tell you, oh yeah, 4 out of 5 dentists. I'm sorry, 4 out of 5 dentists I know are dead.
Hey,
they've been taking fluoride.
Didn't they used to say in the old days too? I actually have seen this. 4 out of 5 doctors smoke Camels.
Smoke Camels. That's right.
Yes.
So Michael continues on here. It says Hitler dosed the water at concentration camps to pacify the prisoners. So, why wouldn't the communists today dose our water?
Well, look at us. We're all over the place. We're freaking idiots, right? Look at any group of people that are around. Yes, I understand you have higher levels of fluorine to manipulate a population. Easy enough. Funny enough, I remember reading that I think the only location in the world that was identified as having too much fluoride in the water was Tanzania. For some reason, that's sticking in my head, and I don't remember why, but everywhere else in the world, it was considered to be at a great level, optimal level for people to consume on a daily basis. So we have fluoride in the water. We have fluoride in the toothpaste. I mean, come on. Are we really going to be that blind about it? Are we going to be that blind about antibiotics? You want to take antibiotics, right? Look at the word disease, dis-ease, dis-ease. Make people feel better just for in the short term, but guess what? You're screwing populations. We're doing the same thing with our finances. We're stealing from our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids so we can have ease. Doing the same thing with medication. We're sacrificing whatever for now because we want to be at ease. And we do the same thing with several of these other new aspects of how to treat people, i.e., transgenderism. I was reading an article last night on this again, published in 2017. And it talked about the expedience of providing surgery and hormonal treatment, but not having the empirical evidence on the back end that it actually did the good it was supposed to do in the long run. All of a sudden, we're saying, oh, you know what? Your mind is right. Your body needs to adapt to what you think. Everything else we have, there's a pathology associated with it. If you can't walk, there's something wrong with either your legs, your neurological system, the bone structure associated with your legs. It's not hard. For some reason, we decide that we don't want to go back down that path and identify what the real cause for something like that is. We just all of a sudden stop. Is there a chemical imbalance? Is there a hormonal imbalance? Do we get too many hormones in the water? So Billy Bob thinks he's Billie Jean now? Is that what it is? We haven't done the research on it, but yet we're assigning kids sex change operations at 8 years old, and parents go to jail if they don't comply. Ease. Whatever's easiest. That's what we like to do. And that's why you have too many antibiotics. And that's what's happening to your folks. You wonder about the epidemic of obesity? Graph it against and correlate it to the overuse or just the standard use of antibiotics. And I'm going to tell you something. I did. And you are going to see a correlation that jumps out at you. Clear as day, as big as the sun is in the sky. You're going to see it, you're going to know it, and you're going to understand it. Booger, I'll give you a couple last minutes here for thoughts.
Actually, you're hitting it pretty good there. You know, I got out what I wanted to there on the industrialized farming. That's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, any other closing thoughts, ideas?
Nope. I think you took care of it there, Dr. Bond.
Okay, sir. Again, folks, sorry for starting late this morning. Something about Microsoft Windows deciding that it wanted to restart on me without my permission. I use this Windows box to go on to Google Hangouts, and so we can do the broadcast and all the other stuff. Okay, so from now on, this one is going out the window. We're going to reinstall and go back to the base plan, which we had just a few months ago, which was running Linux. I've had it with the Windows. So for all of us here at Cerberus Radio Network, to all of you out there, God bless you all. We thank you for stopping in, listening today. Send us your comments. Post what you like up on the Facebook page and ask us questions. Give us feedback on how we're doing.
Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on SoundCloud.
Follow us. Go ahead. We can kibitz. Have a great day, folks. God bless you all.